Aloha and welcome in to week one recap of the Ohana Packers Edition podcast. The podcast where Iowa Joe and I are celebrating the Packers going 1-0 over the division rival Detroit Lions. And Joe, that went about as well as I think it could have in terms of what we talked about pregame in terms of our hopes and expectations. And let's just jump in from there. How are you feeling about that one?
It was it went better than I was feeling it was going to go. I figured it was going to be a full out slugfest, and the Packers just made it look like it was easier than easy could be. So there are some things that need to be cleaned up. There are some things that need to be worked on, but all in all, for a week one game, for the first game of the season, for however you want to put it, I think it went better than what you could expect out of it.
Yeah, I mean, like the most negative things you can say are there's a couple injuries that we're a little concerned about coming out of this game, especially given the short turnaround to week two. And I know we'll get into it when we get into our segments, but Love did have a CTE sequence. But other than that, like, I don't want to say you're picking nits about this one, but the good heavily outweighed the bad from this game in my estimation. And I know that's what you're kind of alluding to as well. But before we spill the beans on everything, let's just dive in. Do you want to do a game recap or do you want to just go into our three segments? I've forgotten how to do this show already.
We'll just do a quick game recap, and
There we go.
then we,
So the Packers jump on the Lions early. I mean, that's the best way that we can say it. Take the ball on their first drive. Convert a bunch of third downs, something that they struggled to do last season. And honestly, for me, the most important thing they did is they got into the red zone and they scored a touchdown. Like
yep.
last year's game against the Lions, last year's game against the Lions, you're going, you're trying to match their first touchdown, go into the red zone, get stalled for a field goal. Against the Vikings in the Lambeau game last year, same situation, go down, miss the field goal. So it's good to see them convert opportunities. We had the whole gold zone in 2020. The red zone, I feel it. Yeah, I'd have to look up the stats. I haven't yet, but it feels like it's been a struggle under the Love, with Love at the quarterback. It feels like they've left a lot of opportunities on. They've just blown a lot of opportunities in that regard. So it was really good to see the team take advantage of this first drive, set the tone, and then defense comes out, forces a 3-and-out, and the offense goes right back down the field and scores another field goal. And I do think that, obviously it's important to get up to a two-score lead, but I think even more importantly than that is Detroit takes 16 plays, 9.5 minutes to score a field goal to cut it to 10-3. And what does Green Bay do? Comes right back and responds, two-play touchdown drive, which, like we said, a lot of how we're going to frame our reviews of this team to open this season are in reference to last year's team, 2023's team, because it's the progression of a team under Jordan Love as its quarterback. Obviously, we'll get into the Micah Parsons and the improved Halfley defense of it all, but just in terms of the offensive side of the ball, you've seen this team take the step that honestly I think a lot of us hoped they would take last year in terms of Love finished 2023 on a heater, had the sour ending to the San Fran playoff game, but it felt like 2024 was going to be a launching pad kind of season, and then you go and get hurt on the slop trot, as you call it, down in Brazil. And that, I don't want to say it derailed the season, but it really did get it off on the wrong foot. Pun totally intended there. And they were playing catch. For all intents and purposes, they were playing catch up from that point out. So, like I said, that's my initial takeaway is that it's just so good to see this team get out, establish itself, get on the board first, put up touchdowns in the red zone. They end up going, I believe, 3 for 5 in the red zone. And honestly, the last one, it's kind of like, oh no, they did not get to the red zone on their last field goal drive. So yeah, so they're 3 for 4 on red zone trips today, which is a really good start to the season. three for four touchdowns, four for four scoring, which is really good on both ends of that. And it, yeah, I keep circling back to I liked how they responded in the first half. Second half, they got a little bit conservative, and even after the interception, it felt like LaFleur played it, the percentages instead of going for a kill shot after the Evan Williams interception. But I do think that he was kind of playing the long game a little bit, and overall, I really am happy with how this team came out and played today.
Yeah, I think that's where my line is, and it'll get part of our segments too, where it was more the play calling in the second half than it was anything that was mind boggling. Overall, I was happy with how things went, happy with how, Jordan, outside of a couple of things with Jordan, I was happy with some of his decisions. His throws looked great. His, um, I kind of mentioned this, that you would be happy with how his deep passes looked because they were accurate and well thrown. I mean, he had one little wobbler, but it was still accurate and where it needed to go. But drops weren't a thing. Passes were on time. Line was holding up, was giving Jordan time to look over things. There's not much you can really complain. I mean, there are some things, like you said, that you can nitpick, but other than that, it really it went well.
Yeah, and some people are going to say like, oh, like you said, there's little things to be concerned about with some of the second half play calling, some sequencing, things like that. But when you really, when you're going that nuanced detail in terms of like you're getting into like, oh my god, why did LaFleur do that sequence in the second half? Why did we, go a little conservative? It's better to be having that conversation than some of the concerns after like preseason week one where it's like, oh my god, this team does not look like it's on the same page, they're very undisciplined, there's so many pre-snap penalties, all that kind of stuff. It was just really good to see them have a relatively clean game outside of a handful of plays really where things kind of got away from them at times, but otherwise, like, four penalties for 40 yards. We'll get into one of them later on. But for week one game, not bad at all for the Packers. Like it always, you know, you want to be in the handful or less. And for the team to be 4 for 40 week one, that's a really good number to be at to start off the season. And you were efficient on offense. You end the game at 5.7 yards per play, 8.5 yards per pass. Rushing was not as efficient as you'd like it to be, but honestly, this was one of those games where you kind of had to throw to set up the run just because Detroit didn't want you to have the easy yardage from just being able to line it up and run the ball at them. So I thought the encouraging part on that side of it was you end the game averaging 3.1, but you take that with the caveat of like they were barely breaking 2 or just under 2 yards a carry in the first half, and then up through Jacobs' touchdown run, you start to see them break a few more runs, and then after that, the game was getting put on ice at that point. So you'd still like them to be at that 4 yards per carry efficiency, but when you take the context of how this game flow went, it wasn't the worst thing in terms of how it all worked out. So yeah, overall, I'm very pleased with how this game worked out, and you know there's a lot to build off of. That's the most important thing is nothing is unfixable that we saw today, but there were so many positives and all the things that we can critique, they're fixable. They're very fixable things for this team. So that's, it's week one. There's 16 more games to go in the regular season, but it's a really good spot to be in as opposed to like, oh God, like, how are they going to, what are they going to do there? What are they going to do about this and that? It's much better that their concerns are like, oh, like that wasn't as clean as we'd like it to be. That was a little mushed up, this and that. But none of the like, oh God, they are screwed if when this happens again, they are in big trouble kind of thing. So it was really good to see that sort of a feedback from the team.
For sure. So why don't we go ahead and just jump into the our stuff here?
Mmm, fresh cheese.
You want to lead it off?
Yeah. So I mean, uh, like I said, I think my first one is going to be Jordan Love. Like I've already talked about a little bit. Decision making was for the most part good. His passes were on point. I laughed about this during our post game that the one touchdown pass to uh, Jaden Reed looked like Jordan was trying to stick it into his face mask because he was like, "You're gonna catch this one way or the other, whether I got to stick it into your face mask or you catch it with your hands." There were a couple of decisions. I think there were a couple of times. I don't think he took a sack, but there
No.
were a couple of times when he got pressured that it's like, run it,
Yeah.
just run it,
The
and
one where the one before the called back interception, that's one where it's like just throw it away or take off kind of thing. Like
yeah,
I know he'll say that he was throwing it away, but it's like that's not away enough that you know that a linebacker almost had the easiest interception of his career kind of thing. So yeah,
right.
I agree with you.
So outside of that, I think he did well. Didn't look like he had any issues handing off the ball. So I think he's doing all right. I guess there was the one scare where he did kind of scamper and it looked like he was trying to get down to slide, but his cleat either caught or
I
he
think he was
slid
trying to.
or
I don't think he was trying to slide. I think he was trying to cut, and his cleat didn't catch. So yeah, he kind
I
of
don't know.
went
It
down
looked
and
like he saw the heat coming in and he went to go down, but it just he wasn't like
it looked awkward. Like that's the
it
thing
did.
is it looked so awkward that we can't even agree what he was trying to do. So
Right.
yeah,
But what was funny was it reminded me of the trick play they tried to run where he went goofy legged
yeah,
because that was the same kind of legs that he had on that where it just went goofy and then he went down. And I know
right.
there was a little bit concern there just because like we've been saying, did he catch his cleat? Did he tweak something? But all things that I've seen, he's doing all right.
Yeah,
There's no issues.
no,
He went back in,
it's he
played.
didn't like yeah, and that was on the I believe that was on the Jacobs touchdown drive.
Yeah,
So he came out for another scoring series after that. So yeah, it's not like they were like, "Oh, let's just pull him." You know, there wasn't even the precautionary the game's over, let's get him out of there kind of thing. They kept him in after that. So yeah, I agree. Like you said, it was a B plus A minus game from Love just because obviously on his two touchdown throws, great throws. Like those two throws needed to be thrown in a certain way. The first one more than the second one, but like you said, he put that thing to where Jaden had no choice but to catch the ball on the second one, and then on the first one, he puts that ball to Kraft over the linebacker before the two safeties, and he just puts that. And there's even it honestly wasn't the greatest route combination because I forget who the receiver was, but there's someone who was kind of like encroaching in Tucker's area as well. So it wasn't like it was a wide open picture for Love to throw into. So good to see him make those kind of throws. Like you mentioned on the post game, he just missed the throw to Dobbs before they kicked the field goal to go up 10-zip. I commented, I thought Dobbs was a little too concerned with getting his feet down because I think he recognized like he was hugging the sideline and he's like, if I jump too high, I'm gonna sail out of bounds kind of thing. So he tried to do the thing where he's like, if I jump at just the right moment, I'll get just enough air to catch the ball, but I'll still be able to keep my toes like in tapping range and not be out of bounds. Like you could see it on the replay where he's like looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down kind of thing.
yeah,
And I know that Romo's he did kind of preface it like it's easy for me to say, but it looked like Tucker was coming open. It would have been one of those where if he comes down to Tucker late, it's going to be a bang bang play because Brian Branch sees Tucker breaking away from the linebacker, and you see Branch break on that crossing route. So I think Tucker would make that play, but it's potentially one of those like ball gets popped up in the air kind of things, and you're in the danger zone kind of thing. So I kind of there's a part of me that, yeah, sure, go get the first down, but also I kind of did like that he was like, screw it, go get the touchdown. And then, like you said, I think we're all just gonna have to live with every once in a while. He's gonna have those Farvian out of body. Oh god, like what happened there? Even the interception return, it's one of those where no, I don't think he saw the flag thrown, and I don't ever like it when quarterbacks rely on a flag being thrown. But I think he came off of because he's like reading. Dobbs is where the ball is intended to go on that play, and when Dobbs isn't where he's supposed to be, he's like, okay, let me come check down, and that's one where you've got to just sail that thing out of bounds. Like I get trying to make it a catchable play, but because the safety can undercut that route like Branch did for what would have been an amazing interception, you've got to just sail that thing high and outside. And like if I forget if it was Dobbs or Wicks on that route, but if one of them catches that, great. But like you've got to put that thing in such a safe spot that it's like it's truly in your guy or nobody territory and stuff. And I like that he's trying to toe that line as much as possible, but that's one where it's like the percentage outcome of a good outcome for Green Bay is like 5, and everything else is like the next best thing is like a batted ball, and then it's interception kind of thing and stuff. And so I agree with you. Love, though, definitely overall gets to go in the good category. Has the big throws on the first drive. Obviously, the 2-play touchdown drive where he hits Dobbs on the skinny post. Perfect throw, get it over his man corner, and gets it there before the safety can rotate over to get make a play on the ball.
And that's
And
the
then,
one that it looked like it was just a pitch and catch because Dobbs was just stopped
yeah,
and
like
had his hands just right there.
yep. And I appreciate that Dobbs went up and attacked the ball on that one. Don't like give a chance for Arnold to catch up or for the safety to come and pop it and make a play on it. So good job getting that play. And then I think otherwise and everywhere else, I thought he just did a good job controlling the game. You know, I know he's only 16 of 22 for 188 yards, but it was a very efficient pass day at the office. You know, that's 8.5 yards per throw. That's a really good number. Anything above that, you're in MVP conversation. So 8.5 per throw is a great day at the office. My 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 best of the day is just the defense, and I know that's cheating, but in particular the run defense. Like I know we'll talk about the pass rush, but you had questions and concerns. I had more questions on how it would look because this was a top 10 run defense by like DVOA at the end of last season, and it was a sum of the part, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts operation. So, as much as some people were like, oh, Kenny, all that kind of stuff, I was like, no, this should still be a solid, good to solid run defense. And shout out to Colby Wooden. Colby Wooden, I kind of half jokingly tweeted after the game that Colby Wooden should get his contract extension now. But in all honesty, he performed in a way that, the team talked him up so much, but we've heard them talk guys up before. I did not have that on my bingo card that he would absolutely own the point of attack pretty much this whole game. I don't know how like PFF is going to grade him today and stuff, but I thought he had a absolutely stellar game, just manning both A gaps. He used his quickness to get in the backfield. The play, to open their long scoring drive, he almost gets a tackle for loss where he swims across the A gaps and he just can't make the tackle in the backfield, and he was just doing that all day. And if that's how Hafley's going to have this defense operate, the only concern I have is if teams try to take advantage of that activity up front, sort of the whole conversation of like, is Aaron Donald a detriment to his own defense because he's like so aggressive that it opens up. But I thought overall the front seven as a whole was so in sync. You had from point of attack with the nose tackles, and Wooden was the star, but I thought Brooks had some good reps as the nose tackle. Wyatt had some good reps in run stop, and then behind it, Quay and Edge Cooper were just engaged all day and fully leveraged their athleticism. I thought Edge had a rough start to the game. There were like 2 or 3 plays that I know he'd love to have back where, he had one where he just whiffed on a tackle in the backfield. You had the one where he runs right by David Montgomery as, it looks, you're kind of like, as you're watching it on the broadcast, you're like, oh, that's a tackle for loss or a no gain. And then it's like, oh, never mind. It was 2 ships passing in the night kind of thing. And then like it started to turn around for Edge when he had that play where he like tries to swing Gibbs down and loses his grip on him, but luckily for Edge, Gibbs goes like 3 more yards backwards, and then everybody is able to converge on the ball, and Edge does help finish off the tackle for a loss. And we've heard for years that the Packers are trying to upgrade their speed on defense. They have everywhere but linebacker, and they finally have found 2 guys who can truly run sideline to sideline. And I think Edge has really unlocked Quay, because I think Quay, and I can't say for certain, but it almost looked like he was compensating for Wilson and McDuffie and also trying to learn the new scheme. But now that he knows that the guy next to him might be faster than him, he's like, if I think I see it, I'm going for it, and that guy's going to clean it up. Or if he shoots, I'm cleaning it up for him, kind of thing. And it creates this really good symbiotic relationship between the two of them. And it like I said, we'll see how when they play a team, any other team that wants to run the ball, they're going to play the Eagles later. They're going to play the Ravens. Those are, and it's good that they have time until those matchups. But this was a really good test, week 1, when no one plays in preseason anymore. Run fits are always a little dicey early in the season. And they answered the bell on that about as well as they possibly could throughout this game. I mean, we know what Detroit wants to do, and you hold them under 50 yards rushing and 2.1 yards per carry and no rushing touchdowns. That's a hell of a day at the offense for Hafley's defensive unit.
For sure, and I think even this Thursday's game against the Commanders is going to, because they've got a mobile quarterback, so that'll be another true test for them. I think Quay did have that one where he came off the edge and
he got wham blocked pretty good. Yeah, that was the play right after. It was one of those like moments, because that was literally the play after Edge ran right by Montgomery. So. It was a little unfortunate, but other than that, and then the only other play I kind of was like, oh, dang it, Quay on, was the 4th down on Detroit's final drive where
the almost interception.
No, not that. That one he's bailing to the half, so I can't even get upset at that. I'm talking about the one where Jameson Williams catches the ball in the middle of the field. He has the first down, he gives up the first down, and then Quay just he's kind of out of position to make the tackle, but you are a linebacker on a receiver, and you do want him to pull Jameson Williams back to stop him short of the first down. And he kind of does the thing where because he's out of position, he sort of slingshots him across the line of scrimmage or across the first down marker. And those were the only 2 plays where I'm kind of dang it. But that's in game over. Detroit is in desperation mode. Green Bay, you're just trying not to give up anything big. So it's obviously it would be great to not let them score one more time. But honestly, at that point, you're just in don't overexert yourself and get hurt, and don't give up the big play mode kind of thing. So it was one of those it would have been good for the highlight, but it's fine kind of moment.
Well, I just think that the almost interception is just par for his career, because that always seems to happen where it just gets that much over what he can. But I think he kind of did it himself on that play, because when I watched it, he hooked his arms up like he was going to basket catch it. If he would have just went straight up with his hands, I think he would have had it.
I think he psyched himself out on it, where I think he psyched himself out because he's like, am I going to get it? It was the hold, am I going to get there? Am I going to run under it kind of thing? And he's a linebacker. He's not a tight end. So it's one of those.
But I sat there and I watched it. I was like, why are you trying to basket catch that thing? Just get your arms up. At least he could have batted it down. I mean, he did get a finger on it, but at least it would have popped it down or whatever, and it would have looked a little bit better. But now you're looking like you whiffed completely.
Yep.
um, I'll piggyback a little bit on yours because this has got to be brought up one way or the other. But I got to give, freshness to Micah Parsons. Just coming in with only a week to prepare, the whole story about his back, everything like that, not knowing the system too well, comes in and has a dominant performance like he did today in limited snaps. I think what they say in the first half, he only had like 11 snaps. What did he have for the second half? Did you hear?
He must have ended up with 18 because he played 29 overall.
Okay, so only having that many snaps and causing the havoc that he did. I mean, you've gotta give it to him. I mean, it kind of reminds you of in a roundabout way of Malik Willis last year, only having been in the system for a cup of tea, and then hey, guess what? You're playing, and so he I know we were laughing in our little group chat with Mafi and all those guys that Mafi had just said that how much you want to bet these people are going to be complaining because Micah Parsons isn't showing up on the stat line, and then right then he gets his sack. But outside of that, he didn't need to be in the stat line. He was disruptive. Evan Williams wouldn't have got his interception had it not been for the Micah Parsons factor. Uh, what was the other one? Was it Lucas's sack or was it Rashawn's sack that he was disruptive and basically ran Goff into the other one?
I think
But
Lucas's one, he took the attention of the whole right side of the offensive line. Like Domovsky's forever posting those play dots things, and like when you see the dots, Parsons rushes wide, and the right tackle and guard both follow him behind the pocket, and so like it allows Lucas to just dump truck the left guard into his lap, and he can't bail out the backside of the pocket. So yeah, like the impact was felt immensely and immediately. It kind of lets you just laugh at all the people who are like, well, he wasn't that important to the Dallas defense. Like all the backpedaling and the copium, as the kids say. Like there was so much of it where so many people were trying to say like, oh no 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 no, like it's not all him. Like he's just the guy he's just the janitor. He just cleans up a lot of stats and stuff like that, or just so many excuses for why he's so good, as opposed to just acknowledging that he is an elite Hall of Fame track kind of player. And you saw, and my favorite one is Wes Hod reposting his sack, the video of his sack, and Wes Hod's. He looks like a monster from a horror movie. Like I don't have quite the right, but he's like, this is like a horror movie when the monster or the killer is coming after the protagonist in the foreground kind of. And it made me laugh because that's really what it looked like, because it's like it is the whole, like in a horror movie, you're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And in that instance I was like, he's got it, he's gonna get like he's gonna get him kind of thing. And it's the Jeff Goldblum line from Jurassic Park and Independence Day, must go faster. And Parsons did go faster and got him. So it just it we've seen him play against the Packers, and it's weird to say that it feels different watching him on your team kind of thing, because I think what that goes to say is LaFleur has done a really good job in the couple of games that they've played against Dallas of like taking him out of the game relatively, and like to the playoff game where he had like a couple pressures and quarterback hits kind of thing, but I don't believe he sacked Love in the playoff game. But you just see the way that he screws up the blocking scheme, and I think what really just fortifies how big of a move this is for Green Bay is Rashawn and Lucas getting sacks on the day, because that's something that Parsons didn't have in Dallas. I know he played with DeMarcus Lawrence for a couple years, and there was like Robert. No, he didn't play, but there's like Dante Fowler and stuff. But there was no one, and I know that people are like, oh, Rashawn's been underwhelming, Lucas is underwhelming, but they Parsons has not played with two guys of that caliber across or next to him. And I think that those three are going to create hell for opposing offenses. And the three of them might have 40 sacks between them when this season is over and said and done.
Well, not just those guys, but then add in like Devontae Wyatt and Kobe Wooden. They're going to get theirs too because of the Micah Parsons project. So, yeah, so I definitely got to give it to him. Do you got any more for your freshness?
I think one more thing just to acknowledge again, we kind of touched on it when we talked about Jordan, is a clean game from the wide receivers. I know we only threw it 22 times, but to go 16 for 22 on good efficiency and only really one drop, and even that drop, it wasn't like the most blatant one in the world kind of thing. Like, it wasn't an easy play for Jaden, but that is one where it's like, you want to be wide receiver one, you got to make that play kind of play. But otherwise, like, Dontavian Wicks caught the ball clean. Romeo Dobbs caught the ball clean. Spreading it around to, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different receivers. I know the Savion one is a little bit cheating because it was the jet sweep push pass one, but hey.
But if we were looking at it last year, he would have dropped the damn thing.
Yeah. And yeah. I totally
well,
agree.
I was just going to say that's how the things went last year. Was he would have dropped that one too? So, yeah, it was a clean game. I even have to give Romeo props. I know Romeo was known for his route running and that, but man, he was running some crisp routes today, and it just was crazy.
And that's one. I said it in our group chat. That's one of the reasons that I loved him as a prospect coming out of Nevada, is like, I know he came from like a spread run and shoot kind of scheme where everyone's like, oh, do those guys really translate to the pros and stuff? But he had some advanced route running capabilities. And that's why I've always said, like, people got to understand the difference between like the number one read on a route and like a wide receiver one. He's not going to be like a wide receiver one in the traditional sense, but he's the guy that's going to come in and do the traditional route running wide receiver things. He'll snap off those clean dig routes. He can run double move posts and stuff. And part of it is because Golden maybe isn't quite ready to do all of those things. Watson's not healthy, but also Dobbs is big. Like, I don't think he gets enough credit for being a pretty like blocky 6'2" target out there. He's kind of got that James Jones build where it's like he's just a stocky, sturdy guy, and he's not the best athlete, but he has good speed, and it's just good to see him get his opportunity. There's the whole like he's never had a 40-yard reception in his career and all that kind of stuff. Nice to see him check that box off today. And I like the balance. No one had, Reed led the team with 5 targets. Everyone caught half or more of their targets today. So it was just a good day at the office for everyone involved.
For sure. And yeah, because there was the one route, God, I can't even think of what play it was, but he was running like a in route, and it was an up and in, kind of like a slant. And I just watched him like smooth go up and just transition. I was like, he's been working.
And like, you just go and watch his highlights, and he has one of those routes every year. Like, the one that stands out last year in this regard is against the Bears in Chicago. He has the route where he runs like it's like a deep whip route where he breaks in and then cuts flat out to the sideline. And Tyreek Stevenson is left in his he's just left in his baffles on that play. And he has those routes, but it's always, people are like, oh, we don't see him do that. I'm like, that's the thing is like the intent of every route is obviously to get open, but you're not always supposed to be the most open, if that makes sense. You're a lot of route combinations are there's a certain route you are trying to get open with all of your other receivers, and that's the preferred target on a given play. Um, and you know, and honestly, I don't even know if the post that Love hit him on is necessarily the route they're looking for. I think it's just that the safety was down. He cooked Terran Arnold to the point where Love's like, screw it. We're going hard play action. I'm taking this shot. And that's the one thing that, so many people are always like, we can do better than Dobbs. We can do. And I do think they've tried to draft guys who are like, Wicks is a little bit better as a route runner. Golden is the guy who should be able to do a lot more things with his separation skills, his agility, his explosiveness. But it can't be understated that Dobbs is the guy that it's like when Love needs a play, Dobbs is like 1 or 1A of like, I'm looking for this guy kind of thing.
Right.
And like there's no way to quantify how much that's worth for an offense, but he is that guy, and it's not something to be undersold on like the importance of that. But we could lavish on how good of a game this was for hours, but to keep the program moving on, let's go to our next category, the stale
What's
items.
this stale shit?
So you got one that's leading off for you, or
Yeah, I'm gonna put it as no. I'm not gonna do that one. My stale, because this is the one spot that I was kind of miffed at. We did not get the deep route throw to Matthew Golden. I thought for everything in the world that they would take that one shot like they did with Watson his rookie year down the field with his 4.29 speed. We talked about it on our preview where the safeties are good on Detroit, but the DBs sure aren't showing much of anything. It would have been the perfect time to do it. First play of the drive for the Packers, one shot down, and they didn't do it. So that's a stale for me.
and yeah, like his first reception as an NFL receiver is on kind of like a I don't know if it was a broken play or intended rollout, but Love hits him on a kind of secondary reaction ish play on a third down. Big conversion on the opening drive, and I agree though. I did think they would have a little bit more in him, more in the game plan for him. I I do like that they were more balanced this week. I think that sets up better for the coming weeks. But I am a little surprised that no one really took a heavier chunk of the target share this game. My still for the game, um, hmm,
It's hard to think of stale ones because
yeah,
by stale we mean it's like an in between that it's not bad but it's not great.
yeah. I guess it'll just kind of be a little bit of the like sort of pseudo complacency coming out of halftime on offense. I get it. You haven't touched the ball a lot because like Detroit took a long drive going into the half. I know that we got the interception, but like I said, LaFleur played it a little safe after the Evan Williams interception because I think he was just like, we're still in our own territory. There's not that much time. I know we have some timeouts, but it's like the worst thing we can do is just give the ball right back to Detroit, and then it's like, like now we're kind of like we stopped them, but we helped them back out, kind of thing. But I think I would have preferred to see like a shot play on that opening drive of the second half. Especially after Detroit takes what did they take? They took where did the play-by-play go? So Detroit comes out of the half, goes 9 plays, 59 yards, 5 minutes and 20 seconds, and kicks a field goal. So Green Bay in the last almost quarter of time has touched the ball for 3 plays, and in between you have halftime break as well, and it's like your quarterback's hot. Try to take a shot play. Like
Right.
let's keep it going, kind of thing. The third down play, and so it's like it's one of those where I wish they took the shot play on second down. The third down play, I don't have as much of a problem with it as a lot of people do. Yes, like try something a little more. If you want to run it, try something a little more extravagant than just run up the middle kind of thing. But also, my problem with that play is like Jacobs has to follow the intended route of that play. He's not gonna bounce plays out the back door very often, and I thought he gave up on it. I think he saw Anzalone coming downhill, but Elton saw him too, and Elton knocked him out of the way, and it looked like a lot of traffic, but you only needed 1 yard, and the Packers actually had it blocked up pretty good on that play. And so, like you said, it's my stale is more just like kind of hemming and hawing at some of the like, are those week one things or are those like continuing trends from last year and stuff. So it's hard to say for sure which way those things are going. But yeah, like that's kind of it for stale. Like tackling overall was good, effort on defense overall was good. People are going to say, like, what about the run blocking? I thought it was fine early on. I think it's more that Detroit really just wanted to take it away and force Green Bay to prove that they could beat them over the top. And Green Bay did. Like, Green Bay did the whole first half. So I like that, or LaFleur kind of said, like, if that's what you're giving me, then fine. We're going to take advantage of it. My quarterback is healthy this season. And yeah, I would have just liked to see a little more ingenuity to open the second half to like kind of take advantage of where the Packers had been going into halftime.
I think my only other stale that I can go with is Luke Musgrave. He needs to learn how to stay on his feet because no matter what happens, anytime the ball gets in his hand, it doesn't matter if the guy is standing up on the ground a yard away, 5 yards away, he cannot stay on his feet. I don't know if he's just too tall for his own body and he's just that clumsy or what, but yeah, go for some ballet lessons or something, buddy.
My thing with him is if I was his coach, I would just tell him, don't try to juke anyone out. Just run. Like you're fat. I would just like I would lean totally into the like almost gaslighting him and be like, you're so fast, you're so big, just run in a straight line and like sure you can dip your shoulder if you see someone coming at you kind of thing, but like don't try to juke. That's not what you're good at. Like I would totally lean into that side of it. And like, it's like I said, it's gaslighting because it's like you're talking him up on the things he's good at, but it's like you're not a juke art, you're not Barry Sanders. Don't try that shit. Like it's never worked for you, and it only
until you get comfortable doing it.
Yeah, and I don't know if he just needs to like do more core exercises if that's his problem, but maybe he needs more hot yoga or something. But yeah, you could see it too. Like I was like, oh good, the safety fell down, and I was like, oh god, he almost fell down too.
I just couldn't believe it.
It was the lamest Spider-Man pointing meme of all time, and I was like, damn it.
But yeah, he's got to do something. I don't know, ballet lessons or something.
All right, and on to our.
It's some moldy cheese.
Yep. I'm gonna try not to talk over the sound bites one of these days. Moldy. Let's get the elephant out of the room. The NFL's new taunting rules are dumb as shit, Joe. Like,
well, like I said during the post-game show, you can always tell when a rule is going to be overcalled and over-exaggerated when they say they're going to put an emphasis on this. You put an emphasis on this, and the example I used was a few years back with Clay Matthews when they said they were going to put an emphasis on calling roughing the passer, and every week it seemed like Clay was getting nailed for some BS roughing the passer moment. And today's game was no different with the taunting. You have Xavier McKinney hit the guy, stood over him, flexed, whatever, didn't stomp him, didn't, jump on him and start pounding his head in the dirt or whatever, and he gets a taunting. But like Brian pointed out during the post game, You had Amon-Ra St. Brown headbutting people. Or was it Jamison Williams? Either or, they were
Yeah.
headbutting people. How is that not taunting compared to just standing over a guy?
Or even on the play that you called Xavier taunting on, it's still unnecessary roughness for the receiver to headbutt Xavier when he stands up. Like it, it's like when I tell my kids like, okay, sure, that other kid might have pushed you, but that doesn't, you can't go and push them back, kind of thing. Like,
Oh, not me. I'd tell him, you punch that person right in the mouth.
but yeah, I'm like, okay, like unless you can tell me that Xavier McKinney said something so vile to that receiver that it excuses a blatant headbutt. Like, what are we doing here? like, it, yeah, like it makes no sense. And like you said, you call that one, and then it's like, oh, we filled our quota for the day. Like, so yeah,
Well,
I
because
agree.
on top of that, that makes it, they call it an unsportsmanlike, and that goes one against being ejected from the game.
Right.
So that means now you've got to play the whole game not scared, but a little bit more passive because you got to worry that they're going to give you another one to throw you out.
Right. Yeah. If the first one was that, I'm sure in some level, uh, X is like, what did I say or do? And then you're like, oh God, like, what's the line? Do they know what the line is, kind of thing? So
Right.
yeah, I agree. What's your stinky?
Uh, well, you used it for your stale, but I'm going to put it on my moldy cheese and go with the play calling coming out of the first half. I don't know how many times we hear it where it's all gas, no fucking brake, shit like that, and then you come out flat. There should have been no reason that there were 3 straight handoffs. I get you want to get the run game going, but your pass game is winning. This is a team that you've lost a lot of games to in the last few years. You want to make an example. You want to come out to that. This also is the first home game in what, 7 years to start the week or start the season. Why not make an example out of it? You're manhandling this team. You're doing whatever the hell you want to them. Put that foot on the throat, squeeze it, and go.
Yeah, and like I said, I get it's always so hard because it's like, oh, do we play the long game? Do we play? But yeah, like I said, especially after Jacobs has a good run on first down, I wanted to see a
For
shot
those
play.
of you that are listening, Kawano's daughter is boss of the house right now, and she's making it known.
Yeah, the two of them are jousting on the side over there. So, and my son just Flynn ridered himself off of the couch. But
But anyway, yeah, what were you saying?
no, I was just gonna say that it's yeah, I'm. It's one of those. Like I said, if Jacobs runs that third down play like he should, and follows his blocking, trusts his blocking on that play, it's like, oh, you got that first down is always the hardest to get on any drive. You hear it all the time when like teams are trying to make last possession rally kind of plays and stuff. Hey, and like Roger said it about the 2017 game in Dallas, where it's like that first down is always the most important one, and stuff like that. But yeah, a little more creativity. You get 6 yards on first down, take a shot play. They were working all first half. Take that shot play, be aggressive. And like you said, I know where you're coming from is like, this is mostly stinky if it's like, this is a continuing trend kind of thing. Maybe it's just a one off, but, we'd prefer to see the
Well, I'll
trend go the
disagree
other
with you
way.
on that one. It technically is an ongoing thing because how many times in the past under LaFleur have we seen the same thing where they go up on a team And then it just seems like, okay, well, we got to let them get back into the game. We can't make them look this bad. So it is an ongoing thing. And this is from a guy who we've said has been quoted as saying all gas, no fucking brake, wake up with your piss hot, whatever other sound bites that you want to throw out there. And he doesn't show it.
Yeah. And
You're muted.
hey,
The problems
you have
with
to,
having kids and trying to record at the same time.
this is why we usually record in the pitch black of dark here. But what's it called? Like, and that's where, as much as I understand what LaFleur was trying to do after the interception, I do kind of wish they were a little more aggressive. He's trying to like play the time field position, but also like try and get Detroit to call their timeouts, kind of thing. So it's kind of like, and in both situations, both that drive after the interception and the one coming out of half hinge on players tripping over themselves or making weird decisions. Because the one before halftime, it's Musgrave falling down and not getting a first down when he should have had a lane to do so. The one coming out of half, it's Jacobs cutting back when he should just stay the course and stuff. So yeah, I agree with you though. I'm approaching it where like I try to take each season as its own entity, but you're right that in the grand scheme of things, this is a trend from LaFleur that you want to see him do differently.
For sure. My only other stinky, moldy, whatever you want to call it, is probably how do I want to the. I know I'm dead air because I'm trying to phrase it because it wasn't really bad, but it seemed like there for a minute the defense reverted back to not wanting to stop the run, letting them pass all over the place. I mean, if you look at the two stat lines between them all, between the quarterbacks, you would think Jordan was the one with Goff's stat line and Goff was the one with Jordan's stat line, you know, considering because Goff went 31 of 39 for 225 and Jordan went 16 of 22 for 188. And I get that Goff was trying to come back, so of course they were throwing more. But it just seemed like there were moments there that that it was like, oh, here comes the old Packers team. Here comes the old Packers team. Let's nip this in the bud real quick.
And this is where I was kind of getting with the play calling, where it's like I do try to treat things as different seasons as their own entity, because how many times have we seen bend don't break, and they break every time?
Yeah.
And they even kind of did under athlete last year a little bit. And so, there is the concern that it's like, is this the same thing with a different season? And this is like one of the weirdest stat boxes you're gonna see, because there was a point where it seemed like Detroit was out time of possessioning the Packers by like 12 minutes or something like that. They put the graphic up, and I swear it was like Detroit was at like 20 minutes or 24 minutes, and Green Bay was at like 11 or something like that.
Yeah.
It ended up being 9.5 minutes, and Detroit's at like 34 and 30, 34, 25 or 34. Yeah, 30, 35, 25, and Green Bay's you're out time of possession by like 11 minutes. But Green Bay outgained them by 20 yards and in
Yeah.
18 fewer plays. Stop. So, you know, you don't want to be running that fewer plays over the course of a season, because your defense just isn't going to hold up. But at the same time, it's like they're doing all of this work where, and it's that whole like, it's almost like Detroit, because they could only dink and dunk except for the one drive out at halftime where they got a couple chunk plays. They were almost running the clock out for the Packers, because like
Pretty much.
they're having so much trouble moving the ball that it was like, okay, like they're gaining first downs, but it's like 4 yards at a time, 3 yards at a time, 5 yards at a time kind of thing. And I agree. You don't want this to be a 3 and out or long field goal touchdown drive defense. Like you can't live on the extremes like that. Like you when it comes to playoff time, when you play the good teams, that's not going to be a recipe for success. But week one, there's still moving piece. Parsons isn't fully integrated. He's not playing 70% of the snaps like he should once he's fully in scheme and up to speed conditioning wise. So I agree. I struggled with where I wanted to put that, and I kind of just left it off because I didn't know how to qualify it. But now that we're talking about it, that was one of those. I don't want to say it's a total red flag, but you are kind of like, like that is a one that we're going to earmark. Like, okay, how often is this team able to like get off the field if it's not a 3-and-out? Can they force third downs and get off the field, kind of thing? And that's one of the frustrating things with Goff is he's kind of Brady like in that sense, where it's like, okay, and I know everyone's like, oh my god, the Packers corners. I think honestly, the fact that you weren't seeing chunk plays, that's good for the corners, and that they were giving up just the like check downish routes and the like, everything was a horizontal or coming back to Goff kind of route. It's frustrating to watch in real time, but when you look at the box score, like I said, it's like, okay, yeah, you're gaining almost 2 yards per play better than your opponent. You held Detroit at 3.8 yards per play. And like I said, that's where it barely equates out to converting third downs over the course of a game. But also, you're making them have to be perfect to score. And they either, when the game mattered, they were kicking field goals or getting intercepted in the red zone. So it's obnoxious to watch at times, but it is quote unquote winning football. So, yeah, like you said, we need to see how that plays out as the season goes along. But for week one, I'll take it.
For sure. I mean, I get it, but it just, like I said, it got frustrating. Not
It brings up a
frustrating, but
lot of it brings up a lot of bad Joe Barry memories. So I totally
exactly.
understand.
Other than that, I don't think I really have any more.
Do we have a
I mean, you could throw a stale in there, Nate Hobbs injury. I know it's not his fault, but it's funny that they get rid of Jair because of quote unquote injury issues, but they bring in, Nate Hobbs with his expensive contract, and we're dealing with the same shit. But I mean, other than that, I think I'm good. And it
sounds
sounds
good?
like you're getting yelled at by your daughter, so we better cut it pretty quick.
Do you have anything for your favorite segment of the week?
No, not at the moment, because it'll probably be for the preview if I find anything, because we'll see what the talking heads all have to say about the game and what happened, all that stuff.
Oh, okay. I guess I do have one stale out of this game. My one stale would be what's it called? We're on the short week, and you've got two. You're coming out of this game with a big win, and this makes this win so much more important. Is that you have Aaron Banks, who got injured on the Jacobs touchdown run, and what's it called? And Zach Tom, who got hurt on the pick six that was nullified by the defensive hold. And you only have a few days in between games. Hard to say, how precautionary they were with holding those guys out, because of how quick the turnaround is. Like it's the whole kind of like with what's it called? Like Love's thumb. It's like, would those guys have been in the game trying to play if this was a more back and forth competition, or were they just like they're out kind of thing? But was Green Bay playing it safe and they could have played, or oh no, like they were not coming back? And I guess it helps that neither was like that guy's out. Like they were both like just questionable to return. But it's not the greatest thing going into a short week. And then also, Brenton Cox got hurt on, in the second quarter. So, stale in the sense that it's like, we're here already kind of thing. So we'll see where that goes for the team going
Yeah,
into
I
the
guess
short
I got
week.
a stale one too. I know I said we need to wrap up because you've got a jungle going on over there, but I brought it up during our post game, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. and that's the rotation they had at punt return. They had one punt return by Golden, and then they threw Jaden Reed out there. Now they had Savion doing the kick returns, and he was the only one doing kick returns. But I I struggle with how to bring it up because it there should really be no problem with rotating them in and out, but you want to get a guy comfortable back there.
Yes, and I
But if you
agree.
can't be comfortable back there, then you've got somebody worrying too much.
I agree with you. It goes into the, like you said, I don't want to put it in stale because it like worked out well. Like, and I had a tweet
Right.
where I joked that Golden caught the first punt, took it back. You know what did he get on the return? He got
He got a pretty good return on it.
yeah, like first off, he caught the punt, 11-yard return. So first off, caught the ball, didn't let it bounce, didn't let it do weird shit, and as they always say, create that quote unquote hidden yardage and all that kind of stuff. Second of all, what's it? And then I joked that, oh, Jaden Reed saw Matthew Golden field the punt, and he went and was like, I'm going to field punts too. Like last year, that was one of the things that you and I were really frustrated with is it's like he's letting balls bounce that are creating an extra 10 yards of field position kind of thing and stuff. And so it's like, you're half the job is catching the ball. And I know that another guy who is an Iowa fan kind of joked that like when we drafted Micah Hyde, I was like, oh good, I know he's a good punt returner, and my friend Jeff was like, oh, but he fair catches a lot of them. But I'm like, that's honestly really important, and I know that Hyde had this reputation for being a little too safe coming out of college when it came to returning punts. But half the battle is saving that 5, 10, 15 yards of bouncing football. And so, yeah, but I agree with you. I don't know how to feel about the fact that they didn't settle on one. Like, is it good or bad that what's it called? That like Golden had to take one? Is it a matter of like I joked in the post game thread? Is it they didn't like where Jaden Reed's foot injection or whatever, however he took his painkiller. They didn't like how it was going so far at the first punt of the game. Like they wanted it to progress a little more. So that's one of those, like you said, it goes into the we'll file that under the we'll see how it goes the rest of the season. But yeah, it was interesting to say the least. Like, yeah, I was shocked when Jaden went out for the next punt return after Golden had such a good first one.
Yeah, he took it for 11 yards.
Yeah. And Reed ends up averaging 10.5 yards on his 2 returns. So, like, it was a good, productive day on special teams, honestly.
And like I said in the post game, I understand where people don't want to have Golden as the punt returner because, he's slotted as the number 1 receiver on the team, first round pick, blah, blah, blah. But he's an athletic person. He's got 4.29 speed. You want him to be taking some of this stuff because you want him on the field. If he could play like Travis Hunter and be a corner and a wide receiver at the same time, I'd do it in a heartbeat just because that's his athletic profile. But I don't want to get into these guys' head that, well, I can't rest because now I got to go take a punt return, but this is going on, or, I don't want them to get that in their head and worry about it. So it's not a moldy yet, but it is certainly a stale.
I agree with you, but like I said, we could go on. I know there's some Detroit fans who are copiuming it in many different ways. Some of them are like, "Oh my god, they're treating it like it's their Super Bowl," and I appreciate the fans that are making the Packers fans making the "How would you know you've never been to one" jokes. And like, there's gonna be a lot of that this season for the Packers. Like, be prepared for the goalposts to be moved a lot. I'll say this again. I heard this referenced on one of the shows. I do think that Love is possibly either the first or second under most pressure following the Parsons acquisition. because it's like, okay, like this is an all-in move kind of move, like you got to make it happen. At the same time, Love is both under the one of the most pressure on the team, but also this is a feather in his cap that Gutekunst is like, generally, he said it all in the post Parsons acquisition presser. Like, you know how much we value these picks. You know how hard it is for us to part with a guy like Kenny Clark. Yeah, he did all of that to acquire a player of Parsons' talent, yes, but also because unlike the Bears, who were like, Mitch Trubisky, is he going to do it? They're like, Jordan Love, this guy who wears number 10, that's the guy, and he's going to get it done for us this season. Like, there's no bigger, to me, there's no bigger vote of confidence that Gutekunst could have given him than to be like, because some people are like, oh, how much, they're going to do the how much help does Jordan Love need? He didn't get him a receiver. He didn't get him a lineman with this acquisition. He got a pass rush. He got a guy who plays on the opposite side of the ball. And to me, from my point of view, that is your general manager saying that, all right, dude, this offense is going to go as you go, and I'm going to shore up the other side of the ball because I think that you are going to take us to the heights on offense that you should, and we're going to improve this defense to give us a chance on the other side of the ball. So I know this is a long-winded way to say, like, I'm really happy with how this season opened for the Packers. There's going to be a lot of expectation resetting going around this season, but they got their first test and they passed it with an A. And we'll see how they do with the short week in Washington, but really good to see them come out swinging and knock off a team that's been the boogeyman for them for the past 4 years.
For sure. For sure.
All right. Well, I realize. Sorry. One more thing we should do, as I said that I try to look at how the team does in a year-to-year thing. We too at Ohana Packers are going to turn over a new leaf, and we are going to go over our over unders. So Parsons, 20 and a half snaps. We both took the over. You said clearly over. I said barely. So both technically got it right, but if we're going with a fine comb, you got it more correct than I did. Second one was Rashawn. I said others would get him. Correct on that part, but you were right that he ended up with one. And I tweeted this. I said it in the post game, the live stream. I'm the biggest. I am one of. If it's not me, it's Jacob Westendorf, who are the biggest Rashawn Gary defenders and stands in the Packers fandom. I think he should have ended with just one. Lucas deserved a whole sack for what he did on that play where he dump trucked Christian Mahogany into Goff's lap. Like, Rashawn touched him on the way down, but Lucas is the one who dragged him down on that play. Love, 2.5 touchdowns. I said over, all passing. You said under because Jacobs exists. By the hair of your chinny chin chin, you were right. Josh Jacobs, rushing yards, 50 and a half. He had
66 rushing
66.
yards.
And we both were over.
Because he had more than the whole Lions team combined.
Yep. And Souls taken, I'm going to give you the over. Like you said, not, and I was half right when I said not because Detroit isn't that team to get stiff armed by him like that. But he clocked some dudes in pass protection today. I think it was Dobbs's deep shot, the deep post play, and I think one other one where he just stoned a couple guys in pass protection. And I agree with you that should count as taking souls. So
well, I don't know
we're
how
gonna,
else you would do it because, I mean, other than the stiff arm, but I mean, he leveled that guy.
yeah.
I couldn't believe it because as soon as I saw it, I was like, me and Kawano is going to have an argument because that was stealing a soul.
I have no argument. I completely agree with you. So, yeah, everything's coming up roses for the Packers. They are, they're off to a good start. We'll see how they do going into the short week. Like I said, we're going to have to track some of those injuries. We will do our opponent preview. That'll come out so you can listen to that before the teams kick off on Thursday night. But so far into that, please check out the website, ohanapackers.org. I know Carlos is going to be writing about this game. I will write something this week regarding how this could springboard the Packers going into the 2025 season. So keep your eye out for all of that work. Check out our merch on the website, please. I know Joe made kind of a scathing joke about being able to quit his job and do only this, but hey, we all should dream high. And if you want to see Joe be a happy man and not have to work weird hours as a security guard, please help us out and check out the merch there. Check us out on our social medias, on Twitter at Ohana_Packers, on Instagram at Ohana Packers Edition. Facebook, please follow us there. You know, we'd like to hit the 100 follower minimum so that we can put our live streams up there when we do our post games, when we do our draft day stuff. Maybe I'll even do a couple more things with regards to like pregame work and all that kind of stuff. But please support us there. Follow us if you're enjoying what you're seeing. Follow the podcast on your favorite podcasting apps. Give us a like and a subscribe. And hey, like I said, we're here to entertain you. Help us out by giving us the feedback on what you want to see and hear from us. And Packers are 1-0 with a resounding win over the Lions. It's one toe tap Isaac Tesla touchdown from being a laugher. So, like we said, I give it an A, but they have room to go get that A plus as the season goes along. But you don't want to be peaking this early. It's good that you get this good win to get the vibes off to a good rolling start. But there's a lot of things that can be coached up and ironed out as the season goes along. But for Iowa Joe, and I'm Mike. Go Pack, go, and aloha.